Take care.
Good evening. We're going to call this meeting to order. This meeting is being held in the council chambers, which are open for public attendance and participation. The meeting will also be live streamed for public viewing, but not for participation. At the link identified in the agenda. Emailed comments sent and received by the city clerk at least 24 hours before the meeting were distributed to the city council prior to the meeting. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Kirchner.
Present.
Vice Mayor Harris. Councilmember Baumgarten.
Here.
Councilmember Pasquale. Councilmember Shaw.
Here.
Councilmember Pasquale is ill this evening. He will not be attending. This evening, we are going to have Reverend Brown from St. Isidore's Church give the invocation, and the pledge will be presented by Under Sheriff Smallwood. Will you please rise, please.
Good evening. It's good to be here. Normally, I welcome everybody as I give an invocation, but tonight I'm very grateful to be welcomed here to these council chambers. As you know, it's a busy week for us at the Christian communities here in town, but I was very happy to be able to take a little bit of time to join you. Although, since I am short on time, if you don't mind, I'll take a collection while I'm here, just to. But we gather in prayer. Lord of heaven, we thank you for your guidance as you watch over us throughout the course of history, leading us to these days of the greatest blessing, as you reveal to us that we are not forgotten, we are not aloof from your grace, but rather that you call us into the life of blessing, the life of mercy, revealed in these days of your mercy. Heavenly Father, we ask that as we witness these events of 2,000 years ago, that we would recognize that in our own time, our efforts, our gifts of self, also bear abundant fruit, allowing us to bring life, love, and mercy to our brothers and sisters. Bless our gathering this evening and allow us to continue in confidence in the name of your Son, Jesus our Savior. And we pray all this in his holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Modifications approval agenda. At the March 21st council meeting, staff indicated that they would bring back an item for consideration of Habitat of Humanity's proposal for Merriment Village project. Due to the Habitat team evaluating other funding program options, this item has been postponed to the April 18th meeting. Moving to ceremonial presentations, Ethan Conrad Properties Commendation. I would like to invite Ethan Conrad, CEO of Ethan Conrad Properties, Inc., and his associates to come forward. And I'd like the council to meet me up front, please. Well, thanks for being here tonight. Many of you have noticed there's a lot of exciting things happening in Yuba City. Among others, we seem to get new and more exciting businesses. And what was used to be called the Yuba-Sutter Mall, now it's the Marketplace. But I love to see new businesses come to town and more interest being brought over here. And you folks are a big part of that, so thank you. So tonight, on behalf of the City Council, I, Wade Kirchner of Yuba City, present to Ethan Conrad Properties a certificate of commendation, your contributions to the City of Yuba City with the significant improvements to the Yuba-Sutter Marketplace, the addition to anchor stores, Hobby Lobby in Burlington, along with Turner's Outdoorsman, Boot Barn, Five Below, and Tilly's. Thank you to you and your team for enhancing the landscape, signage, and the complete remodel of the exterior of the property, which enriches the quality of life in Yuba City. Let's give them a hand. So you probably have an office you could put this up in, right? Okay. Well, I hope you do, and thank you. And this is just a token of our appreciation, and I understand there's something you'd like to say.
So I guess first of all, I love Yuba City. Yuba City is so great to work with. I mean, the fact that you guys appreciate us taking a property that was a well-located property, was a little tired, it had some outdated tenants, and putting new tenants in and basically revitalizing the property, putting a fair amount of money into it, but making it better. So where it's really better tenants they're a benefit to the community. It feels good. It's like a fulfilling feeling, and I like getting deals done. I like making properties better, making them, and then having people appreciate them, and having the tenants do well. And it's sort of a win-win-win is really what it is. I mean, everyone wins. The community wins. The tenants win. I guess our company wins. I mean, so it's great to see that, and I think it's rare when you can have that in business where everyone benefits from basically taking a good property like that and then putting the right tenants in there. So it feels good. It feels good to do that, and it feels good to get the recognition. And I wish, actually, all the cities and counties where we have properties were like Yuba City. It makes it a whole lot more fun. I mean, all these cities they're not a pleasure to deal with, and they don't really appreciate it that much, and you have to wonder why, but it's great to be appreciated, and that makes it even more enjoyable. And also I should say, we couldn't have done this without our team. We've got a great team, and Bozzy, born and raised here in Yuba City, and doing a bunch of leasing for us, and we're all, as a team and effort is really what I should say. It's a good, strong team effort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we got a picture out here, so everyone's.
The rest of the team have anything you guys want to say?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll say a few words. I'm extremely shy, as you guys know, but thank you guys for taking time out of your busy day and joining us. And the biggest thank you goes to these individuals up here, and that means a lot to us. It motivates us that much more. This leasing, this remodel, and everything. I mean, that's usually all the motivation somebody needs. But like Ethan said, this is the first time a city's reached out to us and wanted to acknowledge us, and that definitely means a lot. And definitely look forward to a lot more leasing and a lot more activity in this town. So we're excited for it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Keep up good work.
Thank you as well.
Yeah. Okay. So please welcome Yuba City Dispatcher Tanya Smallwood, Chandra Stubblefield, and is it Deirdre Geddes? Deirdre. Okay. Thank you.
This is Chandra Stubblefield. She's one of our dispatchers, and Deidre Geddes is one of our lead dispatchers with the police department. They both have a lot of years of experience that go forward for the police department. We're really grateful to have them.
Well, as many of you know or don't know, these are the folks that keep us safe at night. They answer the phones, and it's not an easy job. So before I go into the proclamation, thank you for your service. And that goes along with the council as well. But this is to the Yuba City Police Department Communications Division, National Public Safety Telecommuters Week, April 9th through 15th, 2023. Whereas the Yuba City Police Department Public Safety Dispatchers are a vital role in the protection of human life and property in our community. And whereas public safety dispatchers are responsible for responding to telephone calls from the public for police, fire, and emergency medical assistance, and for dispatching said assistance to save the lives and property of our citizens. And whereas the Yuba City public safety dispatchers endure long shifts, well, that's truth, isn't it? From what I hear. While handling life and death emergencies, while setting high standards in the performance of their duties in a dedicated and compassionate manner. And whereas Yuba City Public Safety Dispatchers' service and dedication to duty has resulted in countless lives saved, injuries minimized, and property damage reduced. And whereas public safety dispatchers are typically the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas public safety dispatchers are a vital link for our police and fire personnel by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information and ensuring their safety. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during their performance on the job in the past year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Wade Kirshner, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council and citizens we serve, do hereby recognize and honor our Yuba City public safety dispatchers whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe. Let's give them a hand. Would you like to say anything? Sure, okay. But we need to get a quick photo op in here. Thank you once again. Yeah. Okay. Consent calendar. Do I start with that? Okay. Public. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. Ooh. Okay. Let's start that again. Public communication. Appearance of interested citizens. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on action items appearing on the consent calendar or business items on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on any other items within the scope of the city's jurisdiction, including items not listed on the agenda, will be considered at this time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Members of the public submitting written requests at least 24 hours to the prior to the meeting will be allotted 5 minutes to comment per speaker. Repetitive comments may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. We do have a couple of speaker cards. The first one is from Heather Essman.
Good evening, Council. Heather Esserman. I live on Lincoln, the corner of Lincoln and Sanborn in Yuba City. And although this had came up a little while in the past, I'm bringing this up now because Councilman Shaw happens to be here. So it has to do with the selection of commissioners for not only Parks and Recreation, but for some of the other things that we have, including a board that I wanted to ask you about. But so I specifically tried to see if I could find some people in the community that might be interested in the Parks and Rec Commission, people that I knew would actually show up. I would encourage you that if you decide to go with somebody who's already been there, to see what their attendance record is, please, before you make that decision. There's a lot of commissioners that just don't seem to take it as seriously, potentially, as I do. And I understand that, but when you take an oath, then you have to try to make the meetings and not go on vacation or whatever else that their excuses are. And I did want to say that, particularly when you're watching, so Councilman Shaw mentioned that for the Planning Commission meeting, he actually went back and watched to see what some of the comments were, so he can build himself his own opinion. And I can't commend him enough for that, because I have sat in some of these meetings as well as the Planning Commission meetings where there have been things that were neglected to be said, that were said to that evening. And it could be just an oversight, I don't know. But build your own opinion if you can. I think that's very helpful, but also pay attention to who's doing what. And some of the commissioners tend to vote no on just about anything without saying why. And yet they're still selected as commissioner. So if that's the type of commissioners and commissions you want to have, then so be it. But I don't think that's helpful for the city. You need to have people who are active. You need to have people who show up. And you need to have people to explain why they're voting, why they do. If they're against everything, that's fine, but they should say why. Also, the board that I was curious, I'm hoping maybe potentially you have people that might be able to come to our board. The Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health Advisory Board needs another member. This is a board that's really, really important, particularly with some of the incidences that have been happening in the past, like the one last week. We desperately need representation from the Sutter County side, and we're looking for another family representative. So if you happen to know anybody that has a family member that might be interested in that type of thing, and they have a impacted family member either for behavioral health, which includes addiction, alcoholism, things like that have gone through the programs, and then have an aspect and can give more insight into assistance in furthering the programs, then that would be great. Send them to Donna Johnston at the county if you happen to have any suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a second card from Sandy Drown.
There, is that better? Oh, okay, I can lift it up a little too. All right, so I am Sandy Drown, and I am here on behalf of the Yuba City Downtown Business Association. And I just wanted to give a kudos and a thank you to Councilman Dave Shaw. The Yuba City Downtown is in your district. I call it the heart of the Yuba City. But I wanted to thank you. We had a couple of situations that happened a couple months ago, and I texted you saying that I needed to be on your calendar in a couple of days, and I just appreciate you making that readily available for me, and being able to deal with some of the things and just partnering. I really think that that's really a big thing, as we kind of go back to there's always got to be a win or a loss, and it really wasn't about that. It was just about trying to be creative, trying to think of some ideas, and having our government, our city there as well. I just wanted to tell you thank you for taking care of your district. That was it.
Thank you. Do we have any further comments from the public? Any further public comments? Any?
Good evening, gentlemen from the City Council. Thank you for you being, sorry that I can speak, I just got a stroke, so kind of little explain myself. We got an issue that lately we have a lot of people, vendors from different counties to come to Yuba City. It doesn't look too good. Also, they take some, can you explain?
Yeah, they're taking, they're parking right next to our restaurants. They're coming, they're from Sacramento, they're not from around here. And it's just been a big issue. Every corner we go, there's one. They have no permits, they have no safe certification classes. It's getting out of hand. I did call Yuba City Police Department yesterday. They did take care of the problem. But I had spoke to, I think, was it you yesterday? He told me to come by and express my feelings, what I had towards the situation. So I don't know what would be our next step to take care of that, or to go on with that issue. So it's something I'm addressing to you guys. I don't know what you guys can do.
So would the city manager like to elaborate on what's being done about that?
I'm happy to. So we had a strategic planning workshop with council in January because we've noticed an increase in mobile vendors that are on the sidewalks and different locations selling things that don't have the appropriate approvals and licenses. And so from that, staff is going through our municipal code, which is what governs how open cart vendors and then mobile vendors can operate. And so we're going to be doing some municipal code updates to make sure that we are addressing the issues that we're seeing. We also have code enforcement officers that are staggering and changing their hours, so it's not necessarily Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, to try to get those individuals that are operating outside of our normal business hours because they think we're not here. And so we are cognizant of what's going on. If you do see an issue, if it's during work hours, you can call the Development Services Department. If it's after hours, please call the police department, the dispatch, the non-emergency number. So not 911, but the non-emergency number. And then also we have an app called YC311 where you can enter illegal street vendors and then staff will follow up with that. It's helpful to have information related to if there's a name on the business, if you can snap a picture so we can follow up with them afterwards. We don't want you to put yourself in a situation where you're confronting anybody, but the more information that we have, we can then go after the individuals to make sure that they're operating in an appropriate manner. So thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it. We do have an awareness, and it's something that we continue to work on, and we'll be updating our municipal code to be able to give us more tools to address it.
Perfect. Thank you for, okay.
See, here we are all the representatives from the business, Salsa, Aliciense, and all these gentlemen right here. They're the owners of the restaurant. So they really complain about they pay insurance, they pay this, all the utilities, and these people just walk in, take all the money from the taxes away from us, and
right. We want to
whatever they want. See, I want to see promptly, as fast as you can do something to get rid of them.
Right.
They chased him out yesterday. One of them, they back again already over there in the street already, back again.
Yeah. So
I believe you can silence them, with $1,000 to begin.
He was asking if we can, because the Yuba City Police Department did a really good job. They came out yesterday and they came out and they made a move, or they went home, and then they came back the next day today at the same time, same place, down the street from our business. But
right.
I'm gonna call again, but I feel bad. But they're not from around here and they're not paying our taxes.
Well, and that's what we want to make sure there's a level playing field for those of you that pay for your business license, you're paying your taxes. We want to make sure that everybody's operating from the same playing field. And so don't feel bad about calling in. And then, like I said, after hours, please call the non-emergency number. There's YC311. And to the extent that you can gather information that helps us to be able to make contact, don't feel bad about calling in multiple nights. If PD has other calls that are higher priority, they'll do those. So it might take them a little while to get to that. But it is something that we want to make sure that we're taking care of.
They did it. Officer Jurado came out yesterday. He did a very good job.
Good.
Yeah,
We're
but
happy
they
to hear
came
that.
back again today.
Yep. So just call whenever you see that.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank
all of
guys.
you, if you see that, please call.
Thank you for your time.
Well, I agree. Thank you for everybody to help us and represent it. We just thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
And thank you, all the other folks that came regarding the same issue. This is something that the city and council is very aware of. Even last night, as I was leaving the Moose Lodge, and I couldn't believe it. 7:30, still light outside. Somebody was setting up right there. So this will be addressed. And thank you for coming and sharing your concerns. So thank you. You bet.
Thank you.
Great lunch today, by the way.
Before we move forward, I do need your names for the record, so I'll meet you in the back. Thank you.
Do we have any further public comments? Any further public comments? Okay, seeing none. Moving to the consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time that council votes on the motion unless members of the city council request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. I have a request to remove item number 6 by Councilmember Baumgarten. And I'll bring the rest back to council for action.
Before we do that, Mr. Mayor, perhaps giving the public an opportunity for public comment?
Yes. Do we have any comments from the public on consent calendar items 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Any public comments on any of those item numbers? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for action.
The mayor, I move to approve consent calendar items 4, 5, and 7 through 11.
Second.
I've got a motion from the vice mayor, and I have a second from Councilmember Shaw. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. At this point, we'll discuss consent calendar item number 6.
I'm ready. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the council for pulling this item. A few weeks back, I attended I guess it was a symposium. I always have a hard time trying to remember what these things are. That was coordinated by Jenna McKay. Regarding human trafficking in our area. I know this is a topic that we've all been watching, discussing. And at that meeting, there was a presentation about Senate Bill 14. And rather than me talk about it, I noticed we have a couple of subject matter experts in the audience. Jenna's here, so is Sandy. I would, if you don't mind, maybe just a few words just to let the audience and those that are watching and those that may watch a little bit about Senate Bill 14. That would be awesome.
Yeah, so last year, Senator Shannon Grove, thank you. She introduced SB 1042, which was to make trafficking a serious violent felony in California and a strike on California's 3-strike law. We took it to the Public Safety Committee and got a no. So she's bringing it back as SB 14, and it's simply just to make it a serious felony, not violent. And the reason, the wording in that is because there's girls that have been trafficked for a long period of time, and they could be criminalized, and we want just the traffickers and the buyers to be criminalized, not the victims. But it would still include a strike in California's 3-strike law, and we're waiting on a date to take that to the Public Safety Committee again, and any support, any endorsements, letters, and signatures on the petition would be helpful. So, thank you.
You good? Okay. So through the mayor, I just, it struck me as something that it was odd that a Public Safety Committee would take an issue like this and pass on it. And so when the opportunity or the it was brought forward that letters of support would be helpful in this, and this is a bipartisan effort, by the way, in the Senate. just brought that for our consideration to support this. I think it's important, and as Jenna mentioned, it does make it a strike offense, which means that it does have some teeth to it as well. So with that, you've all had an opportunity to see the letter, and I would well, open any questions if you have any before making a motion. Public.
Any public questions on consent calendar item number 6? Any public questions, comments? Seeing none?
All right. Well, thanks to Sandy and Jenna for being here and for the symposium. Very well attended at Yuba College. And I would move to adopt a resolution of supporting Senate Bill 14, which if passed would make human trafficking a serious felony.
So I've got a motion by Councilmember Boomgarden, a second from the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you for that presentation. Thank you. Moving on. Business items, number 12, Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation, 2022 CEDS, Annual Performance Evaluation and CEDS, Appendices 1, 4, and 5 updates presented by Diana Langley, City Manager.
And I'm going to quickly turn it over to Brenda and Cynthia.
Okay. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for allowing us a few moments to update you on the activities around the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. I'm Brenda Stranix, the President and Chief Operating Officer for the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation, also the District Director for the Economic Development Administration District, of which is Yuba and Sutter counties. I am going to turn this presentation over to Cynthia Roderick. Cynthia herds the cats and does all the work. I do want to thank staff for their participation in that. Thank you, Ben and Diana. You guys have always been a great support in getting those updates to us and being participants on the committee. So with that, Cynthia Roderick will give the presentation, and then we'll have questions if you have them.
So good evening, and so I'm the CEDS, or Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Chairperson, and I'm here to present the CEDS and am seeking an adoption of resolution approving the evaluation update and the appendices 1, 4, and 5. And for those of you who are new to it, we are required to update and provide an evaluation annually to Department of Commerce EDA. It is a requirement for getting grants from EDA and also other federal organizations. And it's a local planning process designed to help guide economic growth in the Yuba-Sutter area. And the CEDS process helps us to see how we're doing, what we're doing, and if we're moving forward. And it provides a mechanism for coordinating the efforts of individuals, organizations, local governments, and private industry concerned with economic development. The evaluation document represents our goals and objectives of Yuba-Sutter Economic Development District and is comprised of the Yuba-Sutter counties, City of Yuba City, Live Oak, Marysville, and Wheatland. And with that, I'm going to move forward with the presentation. So our vision is to foster a vibrant, prosperous, growing Yuba-Sutter region through exceptional leadership and involvement in the community. And so I'm just going to go through some of our accomplishments with the MSA. In terms of employment and workforce, we did have a slight growth in employment. Our annual growth was up 0.7% or 500. Our labor force unfortunately went down, probably still effects of the pandemic. Unemployment did drop substantially this year, and again, that's probably due because the pandemic's essentially over. And our annual wages, I'm pleased to announce, did increase by 5.6%. Poverty levels are dropping within our area. 20 years ago, we were looking at 20%. We're now about 14%. And if you compare it with the national level of 12%, we're at least getting on par with the national level in terms of poverty. Household income did increase by 5.2%. I did want to mention with that household, people are still just barely getting by. Annually, it's about $61,576 is the cost of living here. So people are $100 away from failure or loss of employment or the next stage down. We did have a great year in GDP. We increased our GDP by 9.74%. It's not turning. It's not moving. Am I doing something wrong? We're still struggling with education attainment. This seems to be a constant struggle. We had more people not graduating from school since last year, and we're almost at 20% of no graduates, people not graduating. High school graduates did increase slightly, and everything else went down from college to bachelor's degree, so we're not quite getting those people getting through with the higher education. Strangely enough, though, postgraduate degrees went up slightly. What did you do? I guess I don't have a finger. Okay, some notable goals and accomplishments that aligns with the CEDS tactics. Goal 1 is to create and maintain a competitive region through economic development, and that's attract more industries to the region. Yuba City notably had the new Holiday Inn. At the time I wrote this, it was near completion, and it's anticipated that there will be 75 jobs created. And Hampton Inn is also in the process of a 50-room expansion, and it's estimated about 10 new jobs will be created. There are other new retail stores, as you had recognized, the mall, which included approximately 100 to 200 new jobs in our area. These included Hobby Lobby with 65, Burlington's with 87, Five Below, Turner Outdoorsman, that was about 25 new jobs. So we are increasing job opportunities here. It doesn't like me here. Okay, thanks. Goal 3, improve and modernize infrastructure. The Berry School water line construction is anticipated to be completed by June of this year. And the second groundwater well, the well was drilled and tested in 2022. And the project is to be completed by 2024, and bids will be out advertised this year. I did it. Goal 3, also improve and modernize infrastructure. And this is to develop and improve alternative multi-module and intermodule distribution infrastructure. I wanted to let you know that Caltrans represented a $1.45 million in improvements. They have 34 projects slated for our region, and 5 projects were completed in 2022. And then you all know about the Bridge Street corridor improvements. Widening of Bridge Street to Gray Avenue to Cooper Avenue is under construction and is estimated to complete in 2023. And then promote transit planning and housing development. New Haven Court was completed. It's a 40-unit permanent supportive housing project and is fully occupied. And then you folks approved the development plan for Richland Village Phase 2. And it's a proposed residential apartment complex of 176 units. To foster overall quality of life, and that's to promote and support collaboration and shared resources for regional safety and cultural development. Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture completed renovations and reopened the Sutter Theater for the Arts. And a capital campaign has begun for Phase 2, which would be a 299-seat live performing arts space. And the Historic District Water Tower Improvement Project was awarded a $2.2 million Clean California grant, and it's anticipated that that project should be completed this year in 2023. And then pandemic-related capital infusion, still were money coming through, and the California Relief Grant Program had about 9 to 10 rounds. So there was 541 businesses assisted in Sutter County, representing $6.2 million, and 478 of those were from Yuba City, totaling nearly $5.5 million. And 33 were from Live Oak, totaling $435,000. And then we, YSEDC, partnered with Sutter County and conducted a micro grant, micro business grant program for Sutter County. And there were 41 businesses in Sutter County that were funded, $102,500, and 38 were from Yuba City, about $95,000. And that's it in a nutshell. Brenda has some fun facts for you.
So I pulled some data recently that is pretty impressive for our region, and many communities around the country are struggling post-pandemic, right? They lost a lot of businesses during the pandemic. Businesses closed and shuttered. So I have some data I want to share with you. In the previous 10 years, there were a total of 599 new establishments in the Yuba City MSA, so the two-county region. 563 of those were created in the last 5 years. So of the 599, 563. In 2020 and 2021, which I consider our darkest, deepest pandemic days, 313 new establishments in the community. So we are faring much better than most other communities. We're growing. I'm not at all surprised by it. I'm pleasantly surprised that we can report these numbers. I actually ran the data against Chico and Redding MSAs as well, and we're faring far better. On the EDC side of things, we are seeing an uptick in our business loan program, like tenfold over previous. It's been pretty amazing. So hold on to your hats. We're growing here. You see it with the investment from Ethan Conrad and so many others, but it is happening throughout the region. We're happy to answer any questions, but I wanted to leave it on a good note.
Well, thank you for that presentation. Do we have any comments from the public on this item?
Wasn't planning on this, but the presentation. So I'm not sure, just throwing that out there. I live in the region that is Lincoln to Walton, in that area there where it's basically a no man's land. We have Walgreens, thank goodness for that, and one gas station. There is an open area there, which it needs to be mowed again. It's getting really bad. You can't walk on the sidewalk again. They don't take care of it. It's the only thing that's still left in that area that is zoned for that. So I'm hoping that maybe somehow the groups, commissions can get together and bring some of that development down our area so that we don't have to go up Walton all the time to get to everything. It's nice to see that we're getting all this, but it's all going in one spot. And it's not being distributed so that blue zones, hey, come on. bring it down to the areas where the people are so the people don't have to drive. That will help improve the roads too. So just want to throw that out.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public on this item?
Thank you. And my question was related to the job opportunities that you mentioned. And I was wondering if you had that broken down to part-time, full-time, and do they make a living wage, not living wage? Any idea?
We can extrapolate any data that you want to see. If you want to call our office, I'd be happy to meet with you and we can really drill down. We have some really great data tools, which makes me super excited. But I'm happy to sit with you and visit and drill data down. I will tell you that any jobs, when they're reported, the job growth that was reported here, those are full-time equivalents. So it might be half full-time and twice as many half-times to create that number.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comments on this item? Any further public comments? I'll bring it back to council for questions or interaction. Good?
Go ahead. No, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you for the presentation. I have a few members of our senior commission. One of them just asked you a question, wondering on their behalf, would you be interested in maybe presenting some of this to the senior commission? I think that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We want to show off anytime we get a chance.
Well, you got some good stuff there, and it's not only fun facts, it's meaningful stuff, and I appreciate it.
We can tailor it to the audience as well. If there's data regarding seniors and the conditions that they're currently experiencing, we can pull data to support that as well.
Thanks. Again, thanks for the presentation. I find it always pretty interesting, and to follow up is, there are good things happening here if people would just open their eyes and watch.
Through the mayor. Bren, thanks for being here tonight. Couple of questions that kind of relate to the CEDS, but CEDS, I'm just trying to figure out how we get this across, because I sat on the EDC and there's a lot of good things going. But one thing that we have seen when it gets to our labor force, and you hit it in that one slide, I don't know if you can back up to the education slide, but we're coming out of the pandemic, and I think kids in that age of high school, college, just kind of got burnt out because of what happened. But when we're attracting employers and stuff, they're looking at our employment pool. And education keeps coming up, and that's nothing that we control up here. Do you share this with like SCOE and Yuba City Unified? Because we eventually have to keep working on this collaboratively as an entire group, but it's alarming, and it's a state and nationwide trend, but ours seems to be, in our region, worse than others. And, we've had employers that we talk to that talk about heading towards Roseville, Rockland area versus ours because of kids and things of that nature. I just want to make sure we're getting this information over, because we need their help as well. And I guess I'm getting beeped and I'm on the council. Thanks, Sierra. Mr. Mayor, can I have 5 more minutes from each of my council members?
Yep.
So it is, and we've been battling this for a very long time, and it's not getting any better. It tends to be trending down, worse now. Part of that is probably the pandemic and the way we forced kids to learn or not learn and engage and not engage. We do share the data with the school districts and and Sutter County Office of Ed, Yuba County Office of Ed. We keep saying, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? But you're absolutely correct in that when a major employer is looking at the region, they are looking at these numbers almost first and foremost, because, they're coming out expecting that their kids will have an opportunity for good education, and our data doesn't show that that's the case. I will say that I've been working more closely with Yuba College since we got our new president, Dr. Dotson. She's making great strides. I think that they are building some real good bridges with the dual enrollment and CTE programs and some of those things. We have a new chancellor that will be hired very soon. I've been sitting on that hiring committee. So I think we're going to see some change. And I know some of the discussion with some of the trustees, the college trustees, is to reach back down to the K-12 programs and see how to better make those alignments. They too agree that these numbers are awful.
Right, and like you said, shedding no bad light on Yuba College.
It
Dr.
is
Dodson,
what it
they're
is.
doing great things, bringing new things forward, and we're not going to just fix it on a dime. But my big concern, I wanted the public to know, this information as far as labor force and education is making it to our educators, correct?
It is.
Okay. And now kind of wanting to toot our horn on the better thing is you talk about businesses coming to our area and looking at things. And we just approved at the EDC a tool that's July 1 going live, and it's almost scary what you can track on this
It is.
thing. But could you give us just a 2-minute what that is and how that's going to help us attract employers?
Absolutely. So there's a tool that our board has approved in my next budget cycle, which is July 1. And Councilmember Shaw, I actually got possession of it today. They gave it to me 3 months early. So super excited about it. It is a tool that allows us really to use artificial intelligence, and I know everybody has their own concerns about that, that actually monitors my movement, your movement, that can provide data that says, okay, this customer, of course I'm not identified by name or in any way, but this customer left her home in the Terrabuena area and went to Target. She left Target, she went to Home Depot, she stopped at Carl's Jr., and she picked her kids up from school at Terrabuena School, for example. And what that allows them to do is this platform will analyze that data to understand my shopping trends. So transversely, if I drive to Chico to Target, they know that too, right? So when we're looking to recruit, especially in the retail and service industries, we'll be able to use this data to allow us to say there is a demand because here's the data that supports a new Target, for example, that should go in the Yuba City area, the Marysville area, whatever that looks like. We had access to a different program, but a very similar platform a number of years ago, and I'll use an example. I was working with a developer that was courting our, the Wingstop, not Wingstop, the other one, Buffalo Wild Wings, sorry. And this local developer was courting them, and they were telling the developer, we're 6 years out in Yuba City. We have it dialed in, they forecast, they know when the rooftops are there and when the incomes are there, and we're six years out. We were able to run data that is very similar to what data we'll have access to again, and they had that thing permitted and up in about 6 months' time. So it gives us an advantage when people don't quite understand how to read our community. Oftentimes things are done, and it's very complex, done in drive times or things like that. Well, we're different here because we're rural. We pull from different regions. You know, Colusa is our consumer. And you have to be able to tell people that story, and without the data to support it, it's difficult to do. So I think we're going to have some major advantages again with this new data platform. Happy to demonstrate it with city staff, which is what we tend to do, and make sure that they know how we can use it and how they can use it. So excited about that.
Well, thank you. The reason I asked that, and thanks for indulging me for a second, was getting back to Heather's question earlier about where people, you know, are coming from and shopping. This tool, we will be able to give them the data when they're looking at our community to go, hey, you got all these people from this area driving to this area. It might be cost effective to put it down in this area if we can find a place to zone properly. So a lot of good things. So I wanted to bring that to light. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vice Mayor? Okay, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Through the mayor. I move that we adopt a resolution approving the 2022 Comprehensive Economic Development Annual Performance Report and updated Appendices 1, 4, and 5 as prepared the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation and authorized its submittal to the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration.
I've got a motion.
Second.
And I've got a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For that very thorough presentation. This is item number 13, Unfunded Accrued Pension Liability Management Policy, presented by Spencer Morrison. The floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I also, joining us tonight is Andrew Flynn from Cal Muni Advisors. He is the author of the policy and has been guiding myself and council throughout the way since about August of last calendar year. So these are some of the things affecting pension liability, actuarial assumptions and experience, which would include wages, years of service, duties, and some other items that impact it. Investment gains and losses. We've experienced much volatility in the last several years. This is impactful because right now about 60% of our pensions are funded by investment returns in the CalPERS portfolio. And the kind of alarming thing is by 2050, Andrew shared with me that estimates are going to be closer to 50% or 55% in the year 2050. So with the lowering of assumptions, we also have to lower our expectations for great investment returns. So that's something that we need to think about when we're funding pensions. And then benefit changes, should they occur. PEPRA, Public Employees Pension Reform Act, is a good example of benefits changes. So policy goals, we're looking at funding levels, making sure that our assets are sufficiently covering our liabilities, controlling volatility, and that we can control the volatility, the more assets we have that we've put towards pensions. Make the ADPs the additional discretionary payments, which we are in the habit of doing. We want to make sure that credit rating agencies are not alarmed and disturbed by our liability on the books with this pension. We want to make sure the policy is guiding budget decisions, that the items that we are bringing to council and that the council desires to have to help improve the liability and the city's position, actually make it into the budget and become part of the plan, not just today, but that future councils and future finance directors are also have these options and future city managers. Financial management, protecting interested persons, interested parties, and transparency are also goals. This policy provides guidance strategies. Probably the overarching item is that we'd really like to try to get the pension to the 85% funded. And then the idea would be to utilize our pension stabilization fund for the additional 15%. But to get to 85%, we would continue to prepay our annual UAL. That's a process that we've been taking part in for many years. We would also consider capital financing versus cash on hand. One of the items the policy gets into is that sort of evaluation. If we know that we're going to be charged 6.8% on our liability every year, interest on the liability, but if we can, if it only costs us maybe 3.5% or 4.5% to finance large capital items, then that should be an easy decision, but we need to consider those things and make sure that we're following that type of logic. Refunding debt, my predecessor, Robin Bertagna, did an amazing job of refinancing debt before she left. By the time she retired, I don't think we have anything left that's above 3%. That this isn't really applying to us at the moment, but in time, should we get into a position where we have debt at 7% bonds, we sell bonds at 7% interest, and our liabilities at 6.8, so that makes some interesting interesting decisions for us right there, where we can try to capitalize on rate differential. And then we always have the considering fully burdened rates, pension obligation bond financing, annually reviewing the actuarial valuation reports, which we do, and then also including other benefiting funds, not just the general fund, when we do an additional discretionary payment, that we're also making similar payments from the water, wastewater funds as well. Another strategy is to do what we're doing, maintain a pension rate stabilization fund. And so we are currently doing this. But again, this is a guide that we're hoping will continue off into the future. And this is one way to manage the 15%. So if we're financing to 85%, then we can manage the additional 15% based on a lot of different factors and variables to keep us around 100%. So if we were to try to fund our CalPERS account to 100%, they have one really good investment year. Now we're at 110%, and you could argue, and the public could argue, that we've put too much money into the system. If we try to fund that additional 15% from 85 to 100 using the pension stabilization fund, then we can pull money out of that fund and pay normal costs for pension instead of it's being funded at 110%. We have a little more flexibility to stay at 100% or 95 or 90%, as the case may be. So it gives us more tools. Then, of course, transparency and reporting is another guidance item in the policy, and these are things that we already do. Keeping copies of the annual actuarial reports available. We could probably do better. We could probably find a place for them on the website, the city's website, but they are always and always have been on the CalPERS website, the public-facing side of the CalPERS website. And then the audited financial statements remain available. Our financial statements are on our website, and they go back for years and years. Again, we already have these habits, but we are trying to guide future our successors. And of course, keeping, I mentioned before, including some of our policy items in the budget and reviewing the policy annually is a goal as well. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hey, do we have any comments from the public on this item? Any public comments? Seeing none, I'll bring it to council for comments or action.
Through the mayor. Spencer, thanks for all the work you put in on this. We kind of live in similar worlds because it's all about numbers, and the policy is straightforward. It gives us a roadmap, like you said. Once we're all, you basically alluded to it, once we're all gone, it leaves that roadmap and gives future council and future staff a roadmap and options. Are we ever going to obtain 100%? That was kind of my chuckle over here. Not if you've seen the way the state manages its funds, it's never going to happen. But it's good. It gives plenty of options, but it keeps the focus on what we need to be doing. So I just want to say thanks for the hard work, and it's good as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Spencer, just a really quick question on when you talk about refinancing debt. I think the example you gave was 7 versus 6.8. Is that all that we take into consideration, or is it kind of like, is there hidden fees? Like for example, when you refi a house, you got to factor in the value of the closing costs and whatnot. You know what I mean? Is that in this case, are we just worrying about the rate alone?
No,
there are stuff.
No, there are costs to refinancing, and those are all considered before we do so. Robin's guidance that she always used was it had to create 5% cash flow before she would entertain it. And so I can tell you that left some financial advisors and some folks really sharpening their pencils to try to make those deals happen, because Andrew, as Andrew knows, and he's part of these deals, that it's all a business, and so he wants to refinance those bonds, and we want the cash flow, and so some magically they happen sometimes.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Oh, through the mayor? I move that we adopt a resolution to approve the Unified Accrued Pension Liability Management Policy for the City of Yuba City.
I've got a motion, and I've got a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Andrew, for dialing in at such a late hour.
Thank you, Spencer.
Mayor,
Yes.
who was the second on the last item? Thank you.
Sean Harris.
So we had a motion from Councilmember Shaw and a second from Vice Mayor Harris. Thank you. Okay, moving along to future agenda items. This is the opportunity to discuss with the city manager about items that came up in the meeting this evening that you would like to have brought back to the council at a later date. Seeing none, we'll move along to reports and communication. The following reports and communication items are provided for the council's information. No action can be taken on items under this section unless the council agrees to include it on a subsequent agenda. Number 15, city manager's report.
So I'd like to say thank you for the city cleanup that occurred. Recology, SALA, Public Works, the police department. It was our first year of doing it, and we were prepared for a huge turnout. And it's a good opportunity for us to see how well it did. And then next year, the intent is to advertise it even more because we know that there's capacity to handle more. Also, just went to the police department just before the council meeting, and it's amazing the amount of time that the police department volunteer to serve the city. And some of you were there, but they provided a check to Chief Baker for the equivalent value of their hours for 2022, and is over $120,000. Very appreciative of Chief Alexander and the fire department for the opportunity to participate in Fire Ops 101. It was a very educational experience to understand the physical nature of the job, how quickly they have to problem solve and think on their feet to address issues. There isn't somebody else for them to call to come and fix it. And it was just a tremendous opportunity to see how our fire department works. Public Works is going to bring forward an update on the water outlook for this year at the April 18th meeting. The Parks Division is in the process of replacing the playground equipment at Maple Park. So we will soon have new playground equipment there. This Sunday is the Shri Guru Ravidas Temple Parade on Hain Avenue, and that's from noon to 4. And Development Services has sent out 78 letters for weed abatement to get properties to address their weeds. And then I just want to note that earlier we recognized our dispatchers, and I just want to note that dispatch was our team of the year, the police department's team of the year. They received recognition for that earlier this year. So thank you.
Thank you. Number 16, City Council reports. This evening, we are going to start with Councilmember Boomgarden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Continue to meet with, along with the city manager and the vice mayor on the potential for a home key. We are continuing. There are funding things that continue to evolve, and so hence the delay today. But hopeful that now that the application period is it's either open or pending to be open very shortly. I had the opportunity to go to Sacramento and participate in a meeting that was hosted by the Urban Land Institute dealing with affordable housing and transition housing. This was attended by architects, builders, developers, and other elected officials from the region. Some really neat ideas, cost-effective ideas, and public-private partnerships that hopefully we'll continue to be able to pursue some of these because they are making a difference in some communities with the effort of getting folks out from underneath freeway overpasses, et cetera. And there was some very compelling stories about how, if a person, if you look at someone who's out trying to get a job, right, because that's what you always hear, this person, they could go to work. Well, imagine sleeping underneath a freeway or in a bush someplace and then making yourself presentable the next day to go for a job interview. So some of this stuff is just getting folks an opportunity to be able to go do a job interview and have a place to sleep that night. And I think there's some opportunities for us to explore in concert with our colleagues at the county. I wanted to mention there was a bit of social media comment regarding our sale of the water that for the water rights. And, it was a complex issue to probably try to communicate. But when you hear that San Luis Reservoir is now filled for only the third time in the last 12 years, I'm going to give kudos to the folks in the staff who jumped on this thing and took the opportunity for us to make some revenue that we would have we would not have gotten had they not been on the spot with this. And so I think, it's unfortunate that people take a little bit of information and don't do their due diligence or reach out to find out what the whole story is. But I certainly appreciate what happened to make that happen as a benefit to the city. So kudos. Also, tonight we had Ethan Conrad and had a chance to meet with him a little beforehand. And he mentioned there's only basically a couple other cities in the state where he does a lot of development up and down the state because there's only a couple places that are even similar to Yuba City in their ability to facilitate the things that they're trying to do. And this was Los Banos and Paradise, California, and us. So I believe he was quite sincere. And again, so that goes back out to, Ben and your shop and your folks. They were very, very appreciative of the ability for them to maneuver and navigate through all this stuff to bring these brick and mortar businesses to Yuba City. And then it's only, again, you listen to Brenda talk about how many, new businesses have come here. It is, I don't want to say shocking, but it continues to surprise me. And then when you hear the numbers, it's like, wow, good. We're doing what we need to do. We can always be better. But I think a pat on the back is well deserved. The only other thing, the street vendor thing is something that we've chatted about before. And I was the one that received the call last night, and I appreciate staff getting me some information about, a path for these folks. It is something, there is permitted street vendors, and there are some rights that they have as well. So navigating something that's fair to both the folks that are operating on the street but aren't negatively affecting our brick and mortar restaurants, which you could hear the passion, I think is important. But that also led me to another topic, I'm almost done here, which is sort of a code of conduct or governance by the council. The stuff that was happening yesterday did not happen in a specific council person's district. And it's very important, I think, for us, and not because I think any of us currently sitting here have that issue by any means, but I would liken it to a code of conduct about governance and reaffirming the fact that, yeah, we're elected within a district, but our responsibility is to the city of Yuba City. And so I look forward to, at a further meeting, if there's support from the rest of the council, bringing forth a resolution. Other cities that have recently gone to districts have done this. It's not just ink on paper, though, right? I mean, it's how we operate as a group and take care of the city that I know that all of us care for. And that'll conclude my comments for the evening.
Thank you, sir. Next is Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you, sir. And that's a good segue in there. Mark, as far as we do represent the city. Starting off tonight, I didn't know Sandy was coming and saying thank you, but, you know, they reached out to me, and it really wasn't a matter of if they were in my district or not. They're in our city that we've been entrusted with. So I appreciate the thank yous, but to the Drowns, it wasn't necessary, because this is what any one of my colleagues or myself would have done. If there's a problem, you carve out time and you figure out a way to resolve the problem, or you put them in contact with people. So thank you for that. And yeah, anybody in our city, you don't have to be in a particular district, can reach out to any of us. And that's why we're elected to sit in these seats and make the decision and try to put people together. So to the street vendors, yeah, we talked about it in January. We know it's a big issue, and it goes far beyond just impacting the brick and mortar at many of these vendors. When you get to where the rubber meets the road, they don't have business license, they don't have sales tax permits, they don't have anything. It's an underground economy. So, you know, there's much bigger issues that still got to be dealt with. And so I know we'll be on it, work on all those things. I want to thank my colleagues. I will finish reemerging here in a couple of weeks. I have an occupational hazard called tax season, and my colleagues are great and helping me keep up with everything, and I appreciate everything you guys have done during the last about 10 weeks. And but that's why there's 5 of us, but I just want to publicly say thank you, because each of you guys have picked up here and there. And to Chief Alexander and the entire fire department, holy cow. Had the opportunity to participate in Fire Ops 101. As Ms. Langley said, it was quite eye-opening. Tremendous respect for our firefighters before I did that, even more after going through that, because you see things day to day, but when you kind of get, you know, a day in a firefighter's life, I mean, the only person that's up here that can relate is the gentleman at the far end, who they still call him Chief. It's dedication, but there's one thing that stuck out more to me than just learning what it's like to be a firefighter and having to make decisions. And like you said, as they told us, when they call 911 and FD rolls or PD rolls, both of those organizations, they can't phone a friend and get somebody else to come in. They have to have answers and figure it out. And they do a tremendous job. But one thing that's always stood out with fire is it's a family. And it's a family like I don't see anywhere else in the way they come together. And I don't remember how many was there, but pretty much, if I had to guess, almost every member of our fire department was there in some capacity, either protecting the city on shift, and then everybody else was there to do this, to give us that experience and show us what they go through day in and day out, not on the clock, on their time, because they care about the city of Yuba City and they want to share what they do and educate us. So, Chief, to you and your entire team, thank you for the privilege of being asked to be part of that. Thank you for the awesome experience. Not quite so much the soreness the next day, but it was well worth it. Thank you to your entire team, and anything that I can do as, I don't know, Sean, are we graduates of that now? Because you were in the inaugural one. So, yeah, as alumni, there's the word.
T-shirt, right?
We got the T-shirt. So anything that we can do, I can do personally in the future to help, do not hesitate to ask. And hats off to you and your entire team, because holy cow, it was eye-opening, and the level of dedication and professionalism, top notch. So with that, that's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Harris.
Yeah, pretty quiet last couple of weeks. I hope Heather is able to participate in the next Fire Ops 101. I've already signed you up, so you're good. As Councilmember Baumgarten said, Habitat for Humanity calls, trying to get some development in town. We've been participating in that. We are making slow but steady progress, but many opportunities for different funding sources, or at least one or two have surfaced, so we're trying to take advantage of that. Slowly starting to ramp up for Cap to Cap. I'm on the Civic Amenities team. And so we're having pre-meetings for that in the works. I did stop by Fire Ops 101 at the luncheon, and I tell you, it remains to be very impressive to see the professionalism and all the equipment and everything that those folks do 24/7. So that was, and if you can't get in it, Heather, you'd be glad you did. Let's see, I'm on the Race, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee at SACOG. We had our onboarding meeting. We had 10 members of the board that are on that meeting. We have 10 members of the public who were asked and accepted a role on that committee. So we just basically had an introduction, setting the stage for future meetings for that here at SACOG. And I did, at their request, met with the new CEO, if that's the proper term, of Blue Zones, Marnie, transitioned over from the chamber. And one of the folks who worked with her, his name was Eric. Basically just getting to know one another and seeing what they have envisioned for Blue Zones moving forward. And I also learned that they talked about a study they did. We're talking about our bike path that we're trying to, or we will, come to fruition here in Yuba City on the old railroad corridor. But they also did another study where the additional bike paths that could potentially and hopefully link up to ours. And their plan extends from, I believe it is Dieter S. Baines Park and eventually all the way out to Yuba College. So it's kind of exciting to see that in the works. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, sir. Before I get into mine, I'm going to forget, I'd like to send well wishes and get well soon to Councilmember Pasquale, that he's not feeling well, so. My most recent 2 weeks started with a interview on 93Q with Habitat Humanity, John Nicoletti. We were discussing the proposed development of Merriment Village, which is Walton Avenue, north of the Chevron. So we talked about that. I was included I threw the first pitch at the Yuba City High School baseball game against Roseville, which I was honored to do. I did. I got it in there, and it was actually on the. A friend of mine sent me. It was on the. They videotaped it. Anyways, yeah, and they beat Roseville, by the way. The city cleanup was amazing. If anybody, if you didn't attend that, you need to attend it next year. I was really concerned about the logistics on this because, well, first of all, let me say thank you to the county for allowing us to do that on their property, the old Kmart facility. But I was really concerned about the impact on the roads, and it was all done very organized, and it was done very efficiently on the property, and. Wow, that's a big shout out to the Recology for that and Rigo. Participated in the county's version of Coffee with a Cop at the Stillhouse coffee shop downtown. I attended the Race Communications ribbon cutting at the Chamber. Race Communications is bringing high-speed internet and fiber optics to our community, and starting with District 2. So we're excited to see that come to our community. I attended Sac Valley Divisional membership for the, what is it? Thank you. League of Cities and historic downtown Colusa, which I got a tour of. The reason I attended it, we were talking about groundwater and the lack of there. And right now, everyone's excited about, we have this all-time 40-year record snowpack, but nobody's talking about groundwater. And as an example, they mentioned that the San Joaquin Valley were to aggressively try to recharge their groundwater, they'd have to take out 40% of their farmland out of production. So that's how important that is. Lastly, I attended a Moose Lodge board meeting. They had some more questions on the proposed habitat development going on next door to them, to the south, on city-owned property. And so we spent the evening discussing that. And lastly, I would like to talk about something really quickly. I attended a meeting in this room last week, and I'm going to address this to what I like to call our regulars, the folks that come in here every 2 weeks And to you folks, I'd like to say thank you for the level of decorum and civility that you bring to these proceedings, because that's not always the case in other meetings. And so I just want to say it's noticed and it's appreciated. And that meeting is adjourned.